live. Thank you for watching Whiskey Watchers and Will, #1 podcast in Bald Head, Maine.
That one's not real.
It is.
Take your cap
it
off.
is.
Take your
That's
cap
ridiculous.
off.
There you go.
There you go.
I'm Kevin,
I'm Casey.
I'm James.
and we have a special guest today. Dave, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Hi, everybody. I'm Dave Van Epps.
And Dave is with Sonderwerks. So tonight we're going to talk to Dave extensively about his business and what he does.
Is with Sonderwerks or is Sonderwerks?
Well, it's a big company, Casey, but we've got about 16 people, but I am the founder of Sonderwerks. We'll go with that.
I like
There
that
we
better.
go. Yeah,
So
thank you.
Dave, that's a great segue. How did you get into this business?
2018, I and some other partners of mine that were involved in a digital media company sold that company. And after putting a lot of years into that industry, I decided I was going to do something different. And I'd always been a Porsche fanatic. And as a result, an opportunity kind of landed in front of me as fate sometimes deals it. And I managed to acquire an upholstery business. And I felt that business was going to be valuable to the Porsche world. And the vision all along was that I would then bring in some mechanical work and then ultimately a body shop, which is kind of what I did. So I found some businesses locally in the Charlotte market that served those areas and some owners that I had gotten to know as friends. And they decided that it was a good idea to kind of sell out to me. And so I bolted on a mechanics business that specialized in air-cooled Porsches and performance. And then about a year later, a body shop. And that's kind of the origins of Sonderwerks, which technically started on January 1, 2019.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
and
you're
it's
kind of
been a hell of a
known
ride
for,
since.
and you're kind of known for, I know you do everything. So for the audience, we've talked, you've done almost complete build for me. James has done some work with you. And I mean, you guys are very good friends, but everybody loves, you did my interior. Everybody loves interior. So I'm going to bring up some pictures of some of the things that you do. And then you can kind of walk us through some of, everything that you do. And also, I know for me personally, I have sent people over to you. And, I try to tell them what they're getting with your service. So naturally, there's a lot of people that can get seat covers and they slip them on old seats and stuff. So I'm going to share kind of some of the things that I pulled off of your Instagram. And, you can talk a little bit about what these are, and I'll kind of just scroll through them and stuff. And as you're talking, I'll go through, some of the pictures and stuff.
Sure. Well, that's a set of Recaro Expert M's in black and white. Those seats are actually black with black and blue Pasha inserts on them. We do a lot of retro, Porsche fabrics and so on, and that's a set of hardback 993 seats for a client. The backs of those are actually color painted to the body of the car. Those came out beautiful.
I love that. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good look. Kevin, what we do, and I think those are your seats, Kevin, actually. Those are,
for sure.
Those are sports seats, 80s generation sports seats, third gen sports seats. All the Porsche seats are obviously made from Recaro. And as you're scrolling through those, I'll just add some of my comments. I get asked these questions a lot. Sportster CS in a blue
tartan?
to match the client's car. Well, it's a tartan, but it's a GTI. It's actually a Volkswagen GTI tartan with a blue stripe that picks it up. Look, those came out really nice. Love it.
What's interesting is that a lot of the VW materials work really well on the Porsche side.
Sure. All kind of some part of that same family. And it starts to get wilder and wilder. But one of the things that I find, those are actually a set of old school first gen comfort seats from, I want to say those are early 911. But we do a lot, and I just don't remember every specific pair, but I see a few other pair in the back there. That's a tool roll we make. We do some copies of tool rolls. I think that's using the Spirit of Le Mans tartan that's on that was custom done for a guy, and he wanted a matching yellow sound pad that we do too.
So
But
let's go a little bit about back to the seats again.
sure.
Touch base in regards to when you take somebody's seats and they can be clearly, I mean, just weather damaged. What you do to the seat? You can just throw in some covers, or when you put your name on it, you're going to go through everything. I mean, for the listeners, you're
Yeah, what
very
normally
known, and I've seen
happens.
your seats.
Well, I appreciate that. Thanks, Kevin. But what always happens with these seats, especially on seats, leather seats in particular, is that the heat in the car, and we've all been into a 911 that has a bad dash that was leather covered and it shrunk. And so that's what happens with the leather as well on the seats. So as it heats up, the leather will shrink and ultimately start to compress the cushions underneath. So the fundamental seat, if you just then tried to go take an off-the-shelf cover, which is hopefully made to the original sizes and specs, and you put that on a seat that might have a compressed cushion on it, or 40 years of wear, it's going to fit like a bag. It's really, I kind of describe this as the same kind of idea as an off-the-rack suit versus a custom tailored suit. There'll be dimensions of the off-the-rack suit that'll fit just fine, but depending on your shape and size, you want this thing to fit perfectly, and we certainly do, which is why we don't sell just the covers. I won't ship a set of covers to a client. And it's because I did it one time and I saw the results and I was just appalled, and I didn't want, our name anywhere attached to it.
Absolutely.
But
So
what we, go ahead, James. I'm sorry.
well, so on these older seats, do you refoam them or do you add foam? How does that
Yeah.
work?
Well, either depending on how bad they are, we'll either strip them down completely and use new foam cushions. Like we'll buy reproduction foam and then use that on the frames and then wrap them accordingly. 9 times out of 10, though, unless they're really roached, we'll put a new layer of foam over top that actually brings the seat back up to its nice smooth shape, as well as its size and firmness. And then once we'll test fit that cover on and off a bunch of times, and if we need to, we'll have to tear it back down a little bit and re-sew certain areas to get that tailored fit. So we've got 5 upholstery techs in-house, all really talented people, and I claim no talent in this area whatsoever. I'm not a mechanic, I'm not a body guy, I'm not an upholsterer. I'm just a guy who loves Porsches. And I really do love the upholstery part. I love all of it, but when it comes to the seats and stuff, it's really one of those things that's so transformative to the car. And when people get in one of these cars after we've done it, you're getting all those new smells again. You're getting that nice new rich leather smell. And if you're going all the way to carpeting and everything else, you can really just kind of refresh the car completely.
Well, that's why Kevin won't open the windows in his Y-Sock, because he likes that leather smell.
So
right.
it's a good smell.
Casey, you have a question for him as well?
Yeah, I got a couple of the comment that you made, Dave, about the seats being able to transform the car. I have not put seats in my car yet, but thinking back to my Miata days, that was one of the things that we did often, was put track seats in or whatever, because the old kind of gray stuff would just tear up. But it made it feel like a new car. So I can see that point. Where I was going with, you kind of hit on.
I heard, Casey, though, that you just invested so much money in your car that it's going to be a while before you put seats in it. So
well,
there's no seats right now.
Episodes here.
Yeah.
Right.
But you hit on this just a bit. You said you have five folks that are in your upholstery. Are these like 5 original people from the company or the shop that you bought? And if not, how are you finding these people? I mean, this skill set is so limited, and I would imagine very specialized. Where are you finding these people?
It's interesting. It's a great question. To answer the first part of that, no, none of the guys who were part of in any of the companies that I acquired, none of the guys that were the principals of those companies are in the business at this point. In some cases, it just, turns out that they were trying to move off into other scenarios in their career. And so it just worked out. But in other cases, as you can imagine, when you acquire a business, the old owner kind of being around sometimes isn't always the best thing. And so, it just becomes everybody kind of parts
But what
ways and
about
so on.
the actual craftsmen that are
Oh yeah,
doing
no,
this?
I get it.
Yeah.
Most of these businesses, and this is what's really interesting, and it's the same with Porsche mechanics around the country, and that's why it's so important that we're cultivating new, younger guys in these businesses, because um, most mechanic shops, most upholstery shops, the principal is also the main craftsman. So the upholstery shop I bought had an owner that, he was a sewer, he was very good at it. But once he was gone, I've had to hire a number of other people. And to answer your question about where you find them, I constantly am scouring the country, or I'm putting ads out, or I'm placing notices on Instagram or Facebook that we're looking for talent. Or fortunately for me, because we've gotten to a certain size and stature inside of the Porsche universe, I've had people that contact me and say, "Hey, are you looking for someone?" And so I've been very fortunate, but it's not always the case. And of all the skills, it is hardest to find the upholsterers. And I think that's one of those arts that is absolutely dying. As it's become a more disposable society. People chuck their seats and they buy new ones, and you don't get that craftsmanship and authenticity. And a lot of the guys that are the principals of these businesses that age out, they get into their 60s or 70s, and then they want to retire. There's nobody to hand it down to because they don't have the skills and they haven't trained anybody. So it's tough. And that's why I've spent a lot of time making sure that we build a good group around, so that it's large enough that I always have people that can do the work, and that we're training up people that can carry on once some of the older guys age out.
And a lot of
So
times
what
too,
is
I think.
your, I'm sorry to jump in, but what is your average age then, would you think, as far as?
Well, it varies. I mean, my oldest guy, besides me, of course, James, but the oldest other
Yeah,
employee in
you're
the business.
skewing that, so take
Yeah, I
yourself
am.
out.
I do drive that up. So, but my oldest upholstery guy's in his 50s, and the rest are probably in their 30s. And I've got maybe one guy in his late 20s.
Well, I would say that's a pretty young crew as far as that skill set goes. So it looks like you have a really good foundation for
Yeah,
some
absolutely.
long-term stability
Some
there.
really good people. I mean, I'm really, really pleased with the team that we have right now, and the quality of the work they're turning out is just really terrific. And we only do Porsche. I mean, it's very tempting because of where we are in the Charlotte area. I get lots of calls. Hey, can you do my boat? Hey, can you do this other car? But we only focus on Porsche because we really want to be good at that. And it's just so much easier to do when you focus exclusively on the one mark.
Yeah, we live in a
Essentially, that's
specialized
me
world.
calling now. That's me calling and spamming you saying, hey, can you do my boat?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you send me plenty of business, James. So it's good. We're good.
Yeah, we live
Kevin
in a
does too.
specialized.
Casey, you got to get an air cooled, Casey. We got to
Tell
get
me
you an
about
air
it.
cooled. Yeah.
Well, we live in a
You could do with
specialized
seats.
world, and having a niche market, I think that definitely helps you out because you can craft your craftsman. You can, I guess, get better at it, and
Yeah.
it
Every set
definitely
of seats
shows.
is a little bit better, right? I mean, you bring somebody new in who may be a great upholstery guy, but hasn't done a specific Porsche seat before. And there's certain angles of stitch lines, and there's certain areas where the seat moves and bends that you need to know how to do the little tuck here or there so you don't get that puckering. And I would say to anybody that's looking to do Porsche upholstery that it's great to, if you're contemplating using somebody in your area, ask them if they've done Porsche seats. If they have, get some pictures. I mean, unfortunately, I feel like I'm super critical of it, of course, and so I'll look at a car that I'll never say anything bad to anybody about how their upholstery looks, but you can certainly see good work from bad work, and I've seen some great work. There are shops out there that just do outstanding work on Porsche. I feel fortunate because I think we're one of the East Coast folks that do great work. There's a
Right.
lot more guys on the West Coast, which means that I've got a really nice built-in audience here on the East Coast, and I get a lot of work from New England all the way down to Florida. People are sending us stuff in, either complete cars. I got a complete car 993 today out of Massachusetts. We're doing cars for other Porsche dealers who are entering the restoration challenges and so on. So we got a couple of those cars in the house right now that we're doing work on. It's a lot of fun. It really is. It's cool stuff.
Well, Lee Keen is a big fan.
Yeah, we do all of Lee Keen's work for those who follow Lee and the Keen Project Safari cars. He's an employee. Lee's work came to us through an employee who I hired, who'd been doing Lee's work from the early days. And Ernest Hemingway is his name, believe it or not. That's the guy's name. And in
Can't write worth a shit, though.
Yeah, well, fortunately, he's a good upholsterer, though.
So I'm showing some pictures, so some complete.
914 project we did. Amazingly cool car that this guy built, and the car is just fabulous car. And he and his dad built this car, and the interior kind of let it down.
And I love this car right here.
Super custom build on this one. The
great color
door panels on that. It's hard to see the door panels, but if you and I don't know if you can zoom in on that. But the door panels are actually made from like a woven.
It's cool.
It's kind of like a seagrass look,
well,
but the material is actually the stuff.
There you go.
The back of that right there. That's actually the kind of stuff you put on the floor of a pontoon boat, believe it or not. That's a seagrass, padded seagrass, so but it's really nice. It came out great. It's a good looking one.
I'd hate to put anything on that. Actually, it looks so clean.
Yeah, it takes up a little bit of room in the trunk, though.
I'm sorry. I have one last question about the seats.
Sure.
And again, I'm not well versed in all the air cooled seats. But how much of the bolstering are you able to customize or shape? Do you have to have good side bolsters and back bolsters in order to have that, or can you take a standard seat and kind of enhance it and then cover it in your materials?
Yeah, we do that a lot. We definitely end up having to repair a lot of bolsters just because of guys getting in and gals getting in and out of cars, they'll wear them out. But depending on the size of that bolster, it's never just, bless you, Kevin, it's never just the foam.
You heard that.
That seat, if you've got a high bolster on the side, there's normally a metal bar that reinforces that under that bolster. So you're never going to have more than an inch or two of foam above some metal reinforcement. Otherwise, it would just collapse.
Yeah, that makes sense.
You're getting in and out of it. But we will often augment the bottom of a seat or trim stuff out of the side bolsters. If you've got a larger gentleman that's trying to get into a tight squeeze seat, sometimes we'll take foam out, or sometimes we'll supplement for somebody with lower back issues. They want more lumbar, so we can add more foam in the back of the seat. Or they're sensitive because a lot of the race seats and stuff are the bottoms are very little foam there. So you're sitting in it, and if you're a guy that races or drives cars on track, you want a little bit more comfort there. So we'll add extra stuff in there too. We've done a lot of custom stuff for guys with back surgeries and things like that.
Well, Casey will not participate unless he gets a seat fitting. He's already told us that.
That's
right.
We'll
do a custom seat fitting for Casey. That's completely fine.
Wide ass is what it is.
No, it's the wide ass part, Case? Oh, I didn't know that. Oh, you don't look like that. The top section, you look perfectly fine. You look okay.
Hence the bolster.
All of this is perfect, to be quite honest. Okay. All of it's perfect.
Good to know. It's good to know. What's on tonight's drink menu, Casey?
Well, I literally just walked in the door and sat down. So tonight we just have a high noon, I think. The bourbon closet. I didn't have time to get into the closet. I was afraid I was going to be late, and I didn't want to be rude.
Understood.
Well, I won't be rude either, and I'm actually drinking your Blade and Bow.
There you go.
Dave.
Oh, that's mine? You're drinking mine?
Yes, I am.
James and I have a running deal where I come to his house and potentially drink all of his bourbon. So that was a gift bottle that was given to me, but it resides at James's house only because it's a visitation issue apparently, and so my Blade and Bow is getting wiped out.
The Blade and Bow bottle is really good. I enjoy that one.
Yeah, well, I think we'd heard about it, or I heard about it listening to you, Casey, on one of the episodes here. So we went out and I bought it. Yeah,
there you go. A convert
There we go.
There
I
we go.
love
This
it.
is actually a pin hook is what I'm
Nice.
drinking right now. Yes, it's 2000. No, excuse me, 2022. I can't tell you much more about it.
Are you
Pit-
sporting a watch there, Dave?
Hmm.
Are you sporting a
I
watch?
am. I am. I'm sporting I don't have any graphics to go along with this, but anybody that's familiar
Pogue?
would know that that's a Pogue.
There you go.
Yeah, and that was purchased from a mutual friend of all of ours.
Yes.
And yeah, so I've got the
So
wheels part and the whiskey and the watches now. So I'm officially do I get a
There you
membership
go.
card or anything like that?
It's in
Well,
the
no,
mail.
you got a watch. You got a watch. Kevin got a car. Chris has been very kind to all of us.
Yes, Chris, our friend Chris, who I'm having dinner with tomorrow night, by the way.
Oh, excellent.
So
Yeah.
I'm going to show some other pictures. So we kind of covered a little bit about upholstery. When we go to some of the shows, whether it's Amelia or some of the other events that you go to, everyone seems to look at your upholstery, but you're also known for other things too. So I'm going to show some pictures of what else you do, and maybe a lot of people may not know this, but you do complete restorations as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm fine to be known for the upholstery, but it's certainly the gateway drug to doing complete builds for clients. And we truly do full, complete restorations as well as custom builds for clients. Obviously, all the metal work, we have a full body shop in-house. So, from fabrication and welding to paint and body. At the moment, I think we've got a 71T, a 69T, early 60s 356. I think it's a B. Got a Speedster in the queue. Obviously, Kevin, we've done work on your car. That's a picture right there of one of my guys doing some old school lead work. I think that's on the 69, as a matter of fact. It's the way Porsche used to do the seams, and it's kind of fallen out of favor just because it's not super safe. People don't want to be sucking in those lead fumes. But we have good ventilation, and my guys wear masks and stuff when they're doing this. But
I love that lead work. The first time I was the first time I saw that, I watched a YouTube channel, Radarosa. He's an English guy that works on Ferraris, but he has an old 512, I think it is. Anywho, somebody had put like a 1980s, early 90s like aerial antenna on the roof, and he was having that removed and was doing lead work. This super cool stuff.
Yeah.
But how many cars can you all handle at a time? How many do you have like at the shop that normally under normal circumstances?
on a given day, and this is certainly not where we're working on these cars, but I track this. It's kind of like my barometer of how things are going in the business is when I walk into the parking lot and then I'll walk inside the building. We've probably got about 50 cars on the lot and
Wow.
inside in a given moment, getting both service, because we also do regular service. So you need an oil change, you
Okay.
need brakes, you need suspension,
Okay.
or your air conditioning
Still.
is going bad. And we do it all. But about 75% of our business is classic air-cooled stuff. It's either classics, whether it's transaxle cars, so we do work on 944s and 928s. And we will do your Macans and your Cayennes and all the modern stuff, GT3s.
It's good to know.
So, we do it all. But at the
Officially,
same time,
50 is a shit ton. So
That is
that's
a
the
shit-
official term.
and when it looks like I've got a few spots outside, and it's almost like a superstition. I'll go inside and he goes, "We're running out of cars, guys." And
then
all
you
of a
call
sudden,
me.
it just happens. Yeah, James will break his car again, and so so we'll have that as well.
How many square feet do you have just in the covered area? Because I also know that you do some storage as well. But how many square feet do you have that you're building?
Total between the body shop and the main building is about 15,000 square feet.
Wow.
Nice.
So, I mean, as shops go, I mean, we're certainly not the biggest, but we're not the smallest. I've had dealers come in, Porsche dealers, and say that their mechanic shops aren't as big. It just depends on the market. I was fortunate when I started the business to find a building that was really tailor-made. that was in the Cornelius area of North Carolina, which is a suburb of Charlotte. So we're just, maybe 10 miles north of downtown. And the building used to be the detail shop for a big auto dealer. And so the building itself was about 10,000 square feet, and it sits on 2 acres. And the back parking lot was beautifully set up, lots of extra room. So I erected a building on the back of the property for the body shop. And it's worked out really well. And there's times
That
it doesn't matter what it is. No matter what you got, you always want a little bit more.
that was a Bruton Smith building, correct?
It was, yeah, in the Carolinas. If you knew Sonic Automotive, that was originally owned by Sonic Automotive. They had a body shop, a really big body shop that's across the parking lot from me that still acts as a body shop now. But then I acquired this slightly smaller building and then the property that went along with it. And it's just worked out really well. It's a nice building. It suits our needs very nicely.
So you also do motor work as well.
Yes,
And
we do.
you have a clean room for complete engine rebuilds. So
Yeah.
I'm sharing some pictures to the audience of some motors. I know you did a complete motor build on mine. I chose to go with just a 3.0 stock refresh, but I'm sure there's tons of people that go, 3.2s to 3.4s, and you can handle it all. So here's a couple pictures of some people working on some cars.
Yeah, I'm very curious not only about just the stock rebuilds, but how custom can you get? How wild can you get?
Well, leave it right there on that one, Kevin. That one is a 4-liter air-cooled 993 motor with a Resant plenum on top there, and ITBs. That's probably one of the more expensive motors that we ever built. And we're building similar stuff not all the time, but there's the difference. It really depends on the use, right? And the uses that I like are, I'm not the guy that personally, and it doesn't dictate what clients want per se, but I enjoy obviously the a little bit more spirited ride and a little bit more horsepower, but it's very expensive to pick up horsepower in Porsche, air-cooled Porsche.
Yes, it is.
It's just, unless you're throwing a turbo on it. Yeah, Casey would know. And that's not even
Casey,
air-cooled.
you're tapped out.
I'm done.
But there's a drivability change when the bigger you try to go with these cars, and the more enhancements that you're trying to do, you're spending a tremendous amount of dollar to pick up a modest amount of horsepower. So we do a lot of stock rebuilds. We'll do a lot of modest improvements, put new cams in or increase displacement slightly by installing new pistons and cylinders. When you really want to start going crazy, it's very easy to spend $50,000 to get enhanced air-cooled motor performance. So, and you,
Yeah, you're also
ahead, Jim.
doing cleanups as well, though, too. You know what I mean? So it's not just slap the motor in there, like what you did on mine. I put that 3.2 in there. It wasn't the prettiest looking. And you were able to reroute some.
Yeah, well, again, we want to turn out a good product.
product.
We obviously want to turn out a good product. So we'll try to do everything we can to make it cosmetically nice. We're not typically the kind of shop that puts that motor back together without doing. There's guys that will, right? Because it saves money. You bring me a motor, you got a problem with that motor. If I've got to tear the motor down, and I say I mean the shop, then we're spending the time to replate all of the hardware or get it powder coated or have it substantially ice blasted or something like that to turn out a product that really looks great, other than just kind of having that same 40-year-old grimy motor that's in the engine compartment.
I do think that's an incredibly positive thing to do, even though it ends up costing the customer more. You see some of those other shops that will do what you're talking about, just slap the motor back together. It's back in a dirty engine bay. The exhaust hasn't been cleaned up. It's all, nasty looking. It's got a pretty core maybe, but then everything surrounding it's just kind of like the same old drab stuff. I think, having been through this a little bit now, that taking the time and essentially on my side spending the money so that everything is done so that it's all fresh, it's all complete and back to basically square one, is well worth the time, effort, energy to do that.
Yeah, I would agree with you. I really would. It's the output when you open it and the car's all fresh and it's nice and we've done all that work and it's got that new car smell. The paint is fantastic and shiny, and even underneath we've done a lot of work ice blasting cars, dry ice blasting, which is it's quite a transformative process on the bottom of a car. And we just did one for a client who bought a car from me on an 87 Carrera, and the car just looked fantastic. And he wanted some other mods and so on. And, we followed the car, and we also then did the mods. So it's another area of the business too, Kevin, which is the purchase and sale of cars. We're always hunting for the car that's in need of some love, right? The car that's got a ragged out interior, or maybe needs some engine or suspension work, or the paint's coming, is failing. And, we lost Kevin. Did you disappear on us here?
I don't know. So he said it'll be
He had
back.
to drop.
Yeah, he had to drop for a minute. Okay. I thought he was falling asleep on me here.
I think he was frozen.
Yeah, he could have been. So we're always on the hunt for cars, and then, we'll bring them in and go through the car completely, strip the interior sometimes, redo it. It's great to make these things kind of live on and live on for the next guy to enjoy. It's a lot of fun.
And how
Kevin's
are you...
power just went out. That's why he had to
in
drop.
his house?
No, he's at the shop.
He's his shop, yeah. How are you sourcing these? Are these basically just word of mouth, or, hey, I've got a rundown 911 I just found in a garage and I want to unload it? Or
I
are you
a lot of time, Casey. I spend a lot of time scouring all the various channels that are out
trolling.
there. Yes, everything from Facebook Marketplace to PCAR Market. Well, not so much that, more PCA Marketplace.
Yeah.
Word of
But
mouth.
at this
certainly.
at this point, people are coming to you as well, right? So
Sure.
you may have an elderly owner that may need to move on from this car, and they're reaching out to people that they know will do them a good job. So
here's
as
what
far as representing the car.
One of the things that I've kind of come to realize as time goes by is that the people that have these cars, especially those that are of a certain age, there's a moral code there. So when they think they've got a car that maybe isn't 100% up to snuff, they have a hard time selling that on to the basic retail customer.
Right.
They're worried that they're going to sell that car to somebody, and then ultimately the car is going to
do bad.
Be a problem. There's going to be a problem with it. And when they'll come to somebody like me who'll say, yeah, I'll buy the car. And then they don't worry so much because they look at it and go, oh, if there's a problem, this guy's got the means to fix it. And so that everybody kind of sleeps better with that as the outcome. So,
Mm-hmm.
Kevin, I thought I had hypnotized you because I was looking at the still image of the pictures that were here that I'm seeing on screen that the listening audience can't see, and you were frozen solid. And I thought, man, I'm boring the shit out of Kevin here.
No, we get that look all the time. Don't worry about it.
I get cross arms and stuff like that. No, unfortunately, my power just shut, and I did pay the bill, but I think the power went out completely out of the building. So hopefully we can. We'll just merge it all together, so it should be good.
So I want to ask.
We carried on without you. Hopefully everything kept recording, Kevin. We carried on.
I told everybody to keep on carrying on. So
a little bit of a historical question, Dave, just because I'm curious. You started off saying you'd always been into Porsche, but where did that come from? Were you an owner prior to? I imagine you were prior to the shop and all this stuff. But was it something you came across as a kid, like I did, or was it something you grew into?
No, definitely. My family was a car family. My grandfather actually sold cars. He was a farmer for the early part of his life, and then later in life got into selling cars for a Chevy dealer in Penn Yan, New York, Jolly Chevrolet Oldsmobile. So every holiday we would spend around the table and the talk, and here's 12, 13-year-old Dave talking with all the men about cars, right? And whatever the car of the day was. But so I always was a car guy, and obviously I gravitated to whatever as I grew and or aged. Kind of moved from American muscle cars to a more appreciation for European cars. And it wasn't until, I've always loved Porsches, but it wasn't until the middle 90s that I bought my first. At the time I was living in San Diego, and I bought a 86 911 Cabriolet. Was the first 911 I'd ever bought. And just loved it and just loved the experience of it. And then job brought me to the Charlotte area, and I had to sell that car in order to move. And I remember as it drove down the road in 2000, with a little tear trickling down my eye, that I said, oh, there'll be another one, right? I'll buy one. And it took quite a while. It was literally like 15 more years before I bought another one.
Well, and you probably didn't sell it for very much. They weren't worth a whole lot back then.
Listen, I thought I scored.
Cab, right?
I thought I scored. Well, I paid $21,500 for that car and sold it 5 years later for $28,675, and thought I had scored. All those upgrades and enhancements I did really paid off.
Every penny out of that, $675.
Oh yeah. I remember vividly, and the guy who came to buy it and all that.
Right? Back then, when did you sell a used car for more than what you bought it for?
Never.
Throwing money at it, right? No, that didn't happen. Now,
exactly.
I think half the buyers in the Porsche market are there to score on the back end.
Yeah, you like to, and candidly, one of those guys, right? I'm always looking to buy the car correctly and do the work on it and sell it correctly, hopefully, and find, the marriage for the customer and the car. And so far, it's been a lot of fun. We've done a lot of them.
Well,
and,
what's
we'll be doing a lot more this year too.
Yeah, what's interesting is you essentially are building a community of not unlike BAT, right? So Bring a Trailer, they have their community of purchasers. So you're building that here locally, not even just local. People are buying from all over, but you have it's a Sonderwerks car at this point.
Yeah, well, it helps, and as time has gone by and the reputation of the company has continued to grow, there are definitely people that, that's kind of a, whatever, it's a badge that says, okay, it's a lot like buying from the dealer in that, this is, or buying from one of the other well-known, well-regarded Porsche shops around the country. Someone's checked out the car, someone's looked at the car, someone knows what's going on, understands the cars, has looked at the car. It's not just you're not going to go to the local Toyota dealer and buy your air-cooled 911 off the lot. So it's one of those things that's, coming to us, there's a little bit of a sense of security that the car has been checked out, looked over, and, and we're certainly never going to knowingly pass something along that's defective.
Well, that's one of the things you guys had talked about too. You're a specialized Porsche restoration shop, upholstery shop. So they know when they bring the car to you, you're not working on Honda Civics. You're not working on, Mitsubishis. You work on, boats. You work on Porsches from, 356s all the way up. So it's somebody that I'm assuming people bring the cars over to you to get them checked out too if they're looking to buy a car as well.
We do plenty of PPIs, absolutely. Yeah, pre-purchase inspections. We have a nice little checklist that we'll do, and we'll sit down and go over it with pictures and so on for an out-of-town buyer. It's been such a great community. And I have met such wonderful people and done so many great things. I've had a great career doing many other things and traveled the world, with other companies and so on. But this is just, there's so much passion about this, and there's so much camaraderie, and things like your own podcast here that's related to cars. And, and Porsches are certainly, for this group of guys here, is right there. It's the key thing that ties the group together, and there's not too many car brands that kind of fall into that category. There's plenty, but the passion behind Porsche is really there.
And that's how this all started as well. We all became friends because of the Porsche car.
Well, what I find it interesting is, Dave and I travel a lot, just doing all this stuff, be it a rally or a
They're
Rennsport or
bunk
anything
buddies
like that.
for the other people that don't know.
Watch
And
it there,
them two.
Kevin. Watch it there,
Yeah,
buddy. Let's
yeah.
not go the wrong direction.
Hey, I can never get in with Dave. It's always I'm sure. And, I want to share, but nope. I got to sit there and twiddle my thumbs, by myself. So
Sit
It's
on your
okay.
thumbs.
Yeah.
Well,
No,
I'm
but that's
interested.
been a lot of fun of that.
Yeah, but we'll travel around in different states and such, and that Sonderwerks name is recognized. So word travels fast, and not everyone stays in the same spot. And I know that you're getting seats from all over the country showing up.
Yep.
So you have at this point, I wouldn't say it's an East Coast reputation. I think it's a national reputation.
Well, it is. I appreciate you saying that, James. And we do a little bit of, we don't do much advertising. I think Casey asked that question a little while ago. How does this all come about? And I have spent very little money on advertising over time. The cars just started showing up the minute we opened the door. And
you spent very little time on bourbon at my house as well. So
well, no, I spent a lot of time at
I'm
bourbon
now
at your house.
enjoying this.
But James was an integral partner here in that he helped develop the identity for the business as a designer, and so I'm always grateful for that, the logos and so on that we have, and some of the branding and those other things. But it is the drives and rallies we go on that that at least I know that the four of you started with foreign. I'll have to see if I can squeeze an invite out of there and bring one of my water cooled cars. James and I and Kevin on a few occasions as well, we do a lot of the air-cooled rallies around this part of the country and elsewhere. So I think we've done, at least 4 so far this year.
So I'm sharing some other pictures here of some, like this looks like a complete. I mean,
that is a car. I think that is. That particular car, it's an oak green metallic. Yeah, that car belongs to a guy from San Francisco, and that is a beautiful 964 build we did. Wide body 73 RSR style car, absolutely gorgeous. We had its twin going on at the same time, another 964 build that we were doing. That it was just a stellar car. Yeah, same color. We were doing 3 oak green metallic cars at the same time.
Car?
That is
Any
not
confusion?
the same car.
Okay.
Any confusion there while you're doing that?
Well,
what do you say?
Well, not from my perspective, James. I think I knew the difference between the two cars, but that particular car is one that I'm proud to say we built for Jeff Gordon, the NASCAR legend, and his wife Ingrid. And that
you can
car,
see her in there.
It's not me in there, and that her.
No, I think I see her in there. Yeah,
but that car is actually on its way to the Hamptons right now. It's probably on a truck this week, as a matter of fact, where they're bringing it up to a home that they built up there, and it's just a gorgeous car. We unveiled that for Jeff at the Works for Union in 2023, and that's just a gorgeous car. It came out beautifully. We're building an equally gorgeous car, and there's Kevin's car.
No, I just went past it real quick. It's just some, 1990 Weissach.
Another great car. That particular car. I love that beige gray is the color. Nothing fancy, but that's an 87 was the base car there. Also built as a 73 RSR style car. Just gorgeous car. That car ended up in St. Louis. And if anybody listening is in the market right now, I believe that car is going to go resale on Bring a Trailer pretty soon. I think our friend Patrick Patowski might have that car coming up on P-Car.
Oh, nice.
With Patina Group. Another local friend, Ali Wallace's car. That's a beautiful, I think James and I first saw that car and met Ali at a car show. Yeah. The car had largely been done, and he wanted an engine build, and we met him, but I just always loved the color. That color is very similar to my original 86 Cabriolet.
It's not far off from mine either.
No, it isn't. Yeah, that's I think that's medium blue. Now there's the Sonderwerks Origin car.
That's what kind of started it all, isn't it?
Yeah, well, I was in California with my family on vacation, and at the time, Craigslist was still a thing, And I'm looking up on Craigslist, and there's this 84 car and some pictures on Craigslist online, and it was a couple hours south of where we were. So I jumped in the car and drove down and bought the car on the spot. And it was certainly a rough car, and shipped it back to North Carolina. And this was in that time after I'd sold the company with my other partners. And prior to officially launching Sonderwerks, I, had a year to kill kind of as I sat there and, kind of had a non-compete, and I was sitting around and still getting paid. Flush with cash. So we built that car, and that became the Sonderwerks origin story car. So that's the Golf Targa, we call it.
Yeah,
and,
explain that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So for the folks that can't see it.
Sure. It's a Golf blue with some, a Golf livery orange, custom interior, terrific car. Just, that car, if I ever choose to part with it, brand new motor, brand new transmission, brand new interior, full paint and body, just a really, really gorgeous, fun car. James drove this car, spun it around 360 degrees.
The 360 view is sweet.
Yeah, it's great as you're spinning the car. And I don't take this car on rallies often because it's a Targa, and I think it needs some new rubber on it. And I've spun it a couple times myself, and I don't spin other cars, so must be something going on with this one. But you're not driving them to the limit. That is a terrific. Again, the pictures that are being shown here for those that are. It's not actually. That is a narrow body. GT. Well, what is it's a? It's just a 993, but it's an RS clone of a GT3, and with all Porsche factory, Porsche bodywork, Porsche accessories and so on, the tail, the wheels, all the bits and parts the gentleman who owned this car brought to us and had us kind of do the work and install them. It's a great car, really neat car.
Oh, I love this car. That's I'm showing here. Can you tell us what it is?
It is. Well, it's a I'm just going to miss the year, though. I think it's a 61. I could be wrong on that, but I think it's a 61 Cabriolet for a local client. He got the car as a 16-year-old, handed down in the family, and the car had been painted white. This was its original color, and the car had never been restored. And so he decided to bring the car back to its original slate gray color. And so we did the full restoration of the car, interior, top,
red interior.
The whole 9 yards. It's gorgeous. It's just a gorgeous car. Yeah, really, so really nice car.
There's his shop.
Typical day. Typical day.
That's a typical day.
That's probably a typical weekend where we pulled in all the cars from outside. It would be very hard to work on all the cars if that's the way it was. But those that can't see is a picture of my shop with what appears to be a manufacturing line of cars. So we were pretty full up on that day.
Yeah, so I went to your Instagram and tried to pick pictures that kind of represented your business. The shop's beautiful. It's nice and clean. As someone who's OCD, and James has been to my shop, your shop is clean. It doesn't look like it doesn't
look like a mom and pop. It's not a mom and pop. I mean, right?
I worked hard on that, and it's easy. There's guys that have been around for 30 years doing this stuff in a small space, and if they've only got a couple of lifts, and I mean these cars, you start taking them apart. I'm amazed at the amount of old parts that have come off cars that I'm trying to figure out where to put that are may have some value someday. And at some point, we're going to have another swap meet or something just to move off some of the stuff. But it just amazes me how much stuff comes off the cars and where you got to find spaces for it. So it's easy to get a cluttered shop. And so I'm a little bit like you, Kevin. I don't like it messy. It just kind of, gets on me. Yeah, so, I like it nice.
And it's not hard. You do your work, and I've been there a couple of times. You do the work, and then you clean up after yourself. And that's one thing, from the engine, the clean room to your paint booth and stuff. People can keep on, but working. But sometimes when you bring clientele to come in and it's nice and clean, and they're spending $100,000-$200,000, it feels nice. And that's one of the reasons why when I went to your shop, I was very impressed with just your your build out of your front area, which from what I understood, you guys did a lot of that work yourself, and it looked very professionally done. I like the stuff that you had hanging on the wall, and you're right. It can be sometimes you have to throw stuff away, or but
Or
your
hanging
shop
on
is
the wall.
or
Yeah,
hanging on the
if
wall.
it's really damaged, then it just makes a good art piece and you hang it on the wall.
Well, I typically don't like to give Dave kudos because his head grows bigger and bigger, but you know,
and it's easy to
part
see
of
with all that exposed scalp. Yeah.
but I was always impressed with Dave's vision because, like he said, he doesn't work on these cars, but he has a vision for them. So when these interiors come in, you got to listen to his input because it's really, really good. And some of the stuff that has been coming out, I look at it and go, holy shit, like it's next level. And I know that Dave enjoys it and the passion is there. And that really, for me as a designer, he has an eye. So you were talking about the front of the shop. Dave did all of that. So it wasn't
Right.
somebody else. I had zero input on it. It was just done by Dave. So, there's kudos there for that. And that's the last positive thing I'm saying.
Thank you, James. That's I appreciate that. And I've been at your place too. And if you look around behind James, there's nothing that's out of place. He's got every picture on the wall is perfectly placed. And Kevin is the same. And Casey, I'm getting to look behind you there. It looks pretty good too.
He's got medals that he bought.
Yeah, that's
okay.
exactly what I did. You're right.
But I will say to go back a little bit, to circle back a little bit, Dave does know the stuff, but like on my particular car, and I'm sure with yours, James, as well, and we'll touch base on it a little bit. I had a car that was 100% Wysock, and at one point, he even had the OEM carpet, the OEM material. It's Doric gray. I decided I
Horrible
didn't
color,
want
by
that.
the way. Thank God that you didn't want that.
Yes,
It's a terrible
I
color.
did not want that. And I told him it says Doric gray. I want gray, and the Doric gray is more of a mauve, a pinkish tan.
Yeah.
It's weird color. But he didn't just say, hey, it's because let's face it, there's a lot of people out there, and if you don't do it my way, if you don't do it the Porsche way, how it was done, Dave wasn't like that with me. He was like, hey, yeah, you know what? You have a good idea. Okay, let's go with that. And he's not one of these guys that's a purist.
But I think he bracketed it. I think he bracketed your choices that you weren't going to make a bad choice. Right?
Yes, I agree. Well, I mean, he knows I have good taste. I mean, come on, we all know this.
Yeah.
So
listen, the personalization of Porsches is one of the greatest things. I mean, James and I were just at the Rucklos Rally in West Virginia over this past weekend. And there was about 125 cars there. And you would go from car to car. And these are literally, I mean, there's a few modern cars and there's some 914s and things, but by and large, these were air-cooled 911s. And every one of them had such a unique personality. There was really no two cars that were identical at all. Somebody had done something to them. It wasn't like you were showing up and, no offense to Corvette guys, but it wasn't like, you were rolling up to a Corvette show and there wasn't going to be, however yours got option versus somebody else's got option. We're doing custom things to these cars. We're completely changing things out and changing it up. So, and that's what I love about this particular this car brand is it can get so personalized, and there's really nothing that's kind of if you're the guy that's out there with a Q-tip cleaning it. And that, no offense to those folks, right? It's just that's not my shop, right? I'm not the Concours guy. You don't bring your car to me for a Concours restoration. You're going to bring your
Balance. No New Balance sneakers around you.
Yeah, and white socks and cargo shorts or whatever the jokes are and that kind of stuff.
Cut off jeans.
But we will give you an excellent car. But the difference between excellent and Concours is just an entirely different level of spend and not the way I want these cars to roll. These aren't for me. The cars need to be driven.
You want to see them. You want to see them on the road, not on a trailer.
In the wild, exactly.
Yeah.
In the wild, and not worried about maybe a paint chip off the front of the car. If that worries you, throw a little PPF on there, and
Or get another car.
But still, yeah, exactly. Or get another car, Kevin.
Yeah, Kevin.
So James, do you have some pictures of
I
your...
do.
Okay.
So, just to go back to what Dave was saying and answering your question, Casey, as far as how do you source the cars, there's a lot of time online. And at one point, I was looking to do the air cooled, and Dave had found this SC in Florida, and it was in hurting shape, but he was able to reach out and get in touch. Yeah, it may have been the cheap. I believe it was the cheapest 911 in the country at the time. So eventually I got the car, but there's a reason it was the cheapest, right? So
it wasn't that bad. I mean, it had miles on it, James, but
ultimately
it needed some chain tensioners. The car was not rusty. It had a nice life, and it had a couple 100,000 miles on it. But the car itself,
245,000 miles on it.
Look at the sport seats, and it
blue
definitely
interior,
had patina.
Yeah, blue interior, leather interior, and it was worn, moldy, sitting in Florida for 15 years. But at this point, I didn't have to worry about keeping it original. Going back to what Dave was saying as far as personalizing these cars, I was able to start with a blank slate, really, actually slate blue metallic. And we gutted this, and we personalized
except for the carpet,
it. So,
James. Except for the carpet,
except for the
still
I got to keep that original Florida smell.
Plus, you still have it, that's for sure.
Yes, but you can see what we did. These are the same seats, and this is the original.
Before they went back in. Yeah, I mean, we reworked the foam, and those particular picture, for those who can't see it, is basically blue seats with blue and black Pasha. They're sports seats from an 80s vintage. They're the 3rd gen sports seats. Super comfortable seats. One of the nicest seats Porsche ever made. They're manual, so you're not worried about all the extra weight. They slide. You can adjust them just the way you want them. Terrific seats. And this is, God, James, this is like 5 years ago, I think.
Absolutely.
On this thing. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, absolutely. But you can see this was us putting it together, working our way through. Just
I think you're there
kind
just
of
taking
behind
pictures,
the scenes.
though, James. You're really not. You were holding the seat. Don't make it sound like you did any of the craftsmanship, James.
But I had nothing to do with it except for picking the stuff. But this was your team putting it together and showing me how it was all working. But you can see how it was all torn apart, and then the Sonderwerks shirts, putting it all back together.
Yeah, that's a James Sack logo right there for those of you who get the visual cue here.
But I do remember I cleaned and soaked all of that foam to get that smell out of it. Yes. So
40 years of mold and a little vinegar, I think, helped on that, is my recollection.
Yeah, absolutely. So,
and we can do that for the listening audience. You can dial in to 1-800 Sonderwerks. Oh.
Right, but we didn't stop there. We've redone the whole interior. We've done the dashboard covered in leather. We've done the headliner.
Yeah.
We've done, the back seats, the back shelf, the door cards. So the custom door cards with the 356 handles. Yeah. So what's really cool is my door cards. I don't like the pockets on the G body. On the door pockets, I think they take up too much room. They're flimsy. They fall apart. They look like shit after all these years. So we just removed them and we put 356 door handle and the RSR
it's a little tweener. Yeah. So it looks really nice.
But I have so much more room. So
and if Kevin had these out a little while ago, we could have put nice metal handles on there as opposed to those crappy plastic ones that are there, James. Well, those are gone now anyway. But
So where do
Kevin's
you
making some good parts now?
Where do you thanks for the plug, but that's again a relationship that, hey, I went to Dave's shop. I wanted to get involved as well. Did a lot of kind of custom things that I think he could have used for his cars and kept his upholstery in mind, custom inserts and stuff like that. But where do you see, it's a good kind of segue, where do you see yourself or the shop in the next 5-10 years? I mean,
Well, when I started it, and with the kind of business background I have, when I went down this path, I knew this was going to be sort of the last hurrah, that I was going to take this thing kind of to the end until I decided I wanted to retire at some point. And you never know how long that is, but I think I'll probably be involved in the Porsche scene for the rest of my life in some way, manner, shape, or form. But Sonderwerks is really built as an entity that can stand alone and carry on long after I may step out of the business. And the thought about that, and it's the difference between I'm not, as I've said before, I'm not the mechanic or the upholstery guy. I think I'm reasonably good at selling and talking to people and, being an ambassador for my own brand. But at some point, this thing will get sold or handed over to an employee or a group of employees, and the business will carry on. And the objective will be to continue to build interesting products that support the Porsche industry, whether they be upholstery related or performance or accessory items, and the stuff you're doing, Kevin, would fall right in. It's a great marriage there, and that part of my business continues to grow. The accessory sales, and we make some parts for Targa tops and things of that nature. But the long-term vision will be that when it becomes time, that there'll be a group of guys, and the team I've built is really great. They could take over the business and run it right now.
Yeah, you can just sit back and get a mailbox check.
Yeah, maybe that's the deal, Kevin. I don't know. I'll have to figure that out. You may figure it out before I do. So if you do, please let me know.
I'm halfway there, buddy. So
it works great.
Well, you're probably in a better program than I am. You're a little younger than I am. So
well, I have a daughter that's kind of grabbing the reins a little bit, and a good manager and stuff like that. So
your daughter is a gem. She is a gem. I think she's a wonderful young lady. So you tell her I say hello.
Oh, don't worry. She'll be watching this. She'll can't wait to see you. So,
yeah.
Yes.
You tell her Papa says hi. Papa says hello.
So, and that's a great story that, hey, you know what? Like you said, we're all friends. We've been through Rensport Union. KC, we do things with KC. It really speaks, and I've mentioned on the podcast too. I mean, a lot of my friends and all of us, the Porsche community, I find, me personally, a lot of my friends are Porsche friends. They have a Porsche, a car, and that's who I usually hang out with, whether it's driving a car or even just hanging out. Now, I have other friends, but I typically do generally gravitate to because we can always talk about cars and about drives, and that's something you guys did. James and Dave, you guys recently just went to a you know what? I'm going to stop there because you do have something that's very interesting that I wanted to talk to you about. Don't you? So I live in Florida. It's hot as shit right now. So you're coming out with a AC system, or trying to come out with something. I mean, can you elaborate a little bit on that? Because I'm excited about that, because as anybody knows, these AC systems more
excited than me.
Yeah.
Well, the air-cooled Porsche air conditioning is terrible. And there's some products that are out on the market. There's a few providers that are providing products on the market internationally as well. And so you kind of have a company that will improve the existing sort of stock performance of the system. And if anybody that's ever kind of dug into an air-cooled Porsche air conditioning system realizes that it was always an afterthought, kind of bolted on item based on the way the car was put together. And there was only so many places you were going to be able to fit this or that or the other thing to make it all work. And so it was always compromised on the cars. And so it never performed particularly well in hotter climates in North America. And there's some electric air conditioning systems where the compressor is electric, and not that the concepts are any different. It's still really using all the same air conditioning concepts of evaporator and condensers and compressors and dryers and the things that go into this. But they're using electric compressors relocated in the car in different spots that provide more efficiency and better use and flexibility. So that's something we're developing right now, and we're still working through the process. We've got it installed in about 4 cars so far. We're kind of working through the system. tweaking and making a few adjustments to location of certain components and so on. But that's coming down the road. And we're hoping to, bring that to market as something that's a bit more cost effective than the other solutions that might be out there. So we'll see where it plays out, and I'll keep everybody posted, certainly amongst this group, because there'll be guys that want to, they'll get the inside friend deal here to get a test system
Discount
or something
code.
like that. Yeah, discount code. Call Dave. Yeah, another bottle of Blade and Bow, James, might go a long way to get a discount on your AC.
So we'll
It'll
circle
be
back
good.
to you guys. Just came back from a rally.
Yep.
So tell us a little about it. I didn't get to go, but I had other things to do.
Sure.
So I don't even think I got an invite, but it's okay.
You could have gotten it. It
James.
wouldn't have been a problem.
I don't hand
we
out
were
invites.
We know.
We were just at Rucklos Rally, which is in West Virginia, and this was the fourth one of them. And James and I hadn't been to either any of the first three, but we'd heard about how great the roads in West Virginia were, and this particular event is continued to grow. And it's put on by some people that I do business with, some Chicago folks and some Philadelphia folks, from what I understand, and just a great group of guys. And it was up at Snowshoe Resort in West Virginia, and the roads were just, West Virginia may not have a lot going for it in many ways, but its beauty and the condition of its roads are just, bar none. It was just some unbelievably gorgeous scenery. The roads were fantastic. We drove like crazy men. And never got in trouble. And what I mean by that is there's times when you can get out in some of these rallies, and you're depending on the group you're running with, you can be clicking along pretty well. And there'll be times when you get onto some roads that are, where you might be puckering here and there as you're moving around a corner or something. But this was terrific. It was just a great event, extremely well organized. The culture of it was terrific. The folks that were there were from all over the country. The roads were outstanding. The scenery, we got up onto some vistas that we were stopping at, and some creeks and streams. And James, tell about the little town that we rolled into.
Yeah, I guess we ran through one of the old industrial towns where the company built all the homes.
Gold country. Gold there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So everything was white. It was very cool with the train going through the middle of it. It was great. I mean, I'm still missing it just because, you take the roads out of it. I had no idea how beautiful West Virginia was. So I thought it would be like North Carolina. I thought it would be like Virginia, but it wasn't. It was its own thing. And, then you put the roads in there, and the people I thought were fantastic. Typically what would wind up happening is a lot of the attitude is not on my roads. You're not doing this on my roads, and they're going to hold you up. But the majority in West Virginia, they knew what we were there to do, and they would just move over and wave us by. And very few times it was you're number one in my book type of thing.
Yeah. Well, there was a lot of, and it's one of these situations where I think they enjoyed seeing the number of people. I remember we rolled into a gas station somewhere, and the guy that was behind the counter was like, "Oh, it's this time of year again. The Porsche guys are showing back up. I look forward to this every year," and they knew
it. And we went to a town, a small town, and they shut the town down for us. The whole main street was just lined with cars. They had a band playing. They had a lot of the locals were there dancing, enjoying it with us, and they were just like. The mayor got up and said, "I've never seen more than 3 of these cars in my life. And here we are. My full downtown has the cars everywhere."
Well,
so
you remember the name of the town?
Amazing.
I love it. I mean, it was
I do.
Cast Denham or something like that. Just a great little town, really a cool little town. So
how many cars were there?
Give them a shout out. About 125 cars were part of the deal.
Yeah.
Wow.
You got it there, James?
Yes, I do. It was called Clendenin. Clendenin, West
There we go.
Virginia.
Clendenin, West Virginia.
Yes.
Shout out to Clendenin, and the mayor of
Kudos
Clendenin
for
was
their
there.
hospitality.
Right. I felt like, we were we were getting lunch at this place, and the name, this was also the tax preparation capital on this little main street, which is literally block long, had a Liberty Tax and H&R Block, and my favorite,
Penny pinchers.
where we were being served our white bread lunch, was Penny Pinchers Tax Preparation, and
Pay less to the IRS. That's their tag.
I love that. Thank God for West Virginia.
Yeah, it was just such a classic piece of Americana. And then we went into a little local dive bar called Paddlers, and it's like one of those deals where in the old West, where the saloon doors kick open and the out of town strangers roll in,
Yeah.
and everybody turns around and looks and says, who are these Porsche guys?
Y'all aren't from around here, are you?
Right. Yeah, but talking about how friendly people were, we drove up, we came around the corner and we came up to this kind of used car lot. And the group that was in front of us, yes, they were all parked there, lined up, and the owners were taking photos of all the cars. So what happened is every run group that came by on that route stopped, lined up all of our cars. They took photos of everybody. And at one point they went in and they took the markers and put little sayings on everybody's cars, like low miles and 9,999, only 11 owners, that type of thing. So it was a blast. Cool. I mean, it was just, and it's like, typically the reason I don't go to this is I have a conflict with a conference. And this year I didn't go to that conference and I did Rucklos. Well, next year this conference is even closer. It'll be in Atlanta. But if it's on the same week as Rucklos, there's no chance I'm going to this conference. I will be there again. It was truly amazing. And
it really was good.
Kevin, Liam was there. So it was the 4th rally in a row that we've gone with Liam.
Cool. Another rally friend that we've made, right? So
yes.
Yeah. Casey, do you have anything else to add or questions for Dave? I'm sure we're gonna have him on again. So
questions for James. Casey, do you have any questions for James or for Kevin for that matter? Either.
Yeah, where'd you get that haircut?
Why is it so dark in your room? I don't understand.
It's true. James
because
left the lights off.
Yeah.
Is it that
it's
dark?
Weird? It's weird.
Yeah, it's okay, James. It's okay. Most people don't listen to this thing on the YouTube part anyway. They can't see it just as well. That's just as well that they can't see any of us as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. So, Dave, I mean, if you don't have anything else to add, I definitely would like to have you back on. And maybe if you're doing a cool project, have you as maybe a continued guest, here and there and talk about maybe project that you're doing it, that if you have the okay with the owner and stuff,
sure,
I would love to definitely, and as your business continues to evolve, you could kind of be a stand-on when Savannah or some of our other guests don't fill in. If you have some free time, that would be awesome.
Well,
guys, thank you.
James,
that's great.
Yeah, James is giving you full permission to show the electric AC install on his car.
Excellent. On James's car. Okay, so we'll have to document that. We'll videotape it. We'll enter it in. That's perfect. But guys, hey, it's been fun. I appreciate the chat, and thanks for having me on. And I look forward to many more miles down the road with everybody here. And maybe I can maybe I'll squeeze that foreign invite and squeeze into your run group there too. I know.
There's no rooms at the inn, Dave. No rooms
that's okay,
James.
We'll figure it out. We'll figure it out.
All right, guys. Well, we appreciate you guys watching and listening. You guys know the thing. I'm not going to go through it like Matt does. Check us out on the website, whiskeyWatchesandWheel.com. Guys, have a great night. Good night.
Peace.
All right.